Persian traditional music is the traditional and indigenous music of Persia, Iran. Musiki, the science and art of music, and musiki, the sound and performance of music. Persian traditional music is appreciated and enjoyed by people across Greater Persia, Iran. Origins. The history of musical development in Iran, Persia, dates back to the prehistoric era. King Jamshid is credited with the invention of music. Fragmentary documents from various periods of the country's history establish that the ancient Persians possessed an elaborate musical culture. Archaeological evidence reveals musical instruments that were used in Persia during the Elamite era around 800 BC. Little is known about the Persian music of the ancient world, least of all about the music of the Achaemenid Empire. Alexander the Great is said to have witnessed many melodies and instruments upon his invasion, and music played an important role in religious affairs. Music played an important role in the courts of the kings of the much later Sassanid Empire. Of this period, we know the names of various court musicians like Barbade and the types of various instruments that were used like harps, lutes, flutes, bagpipes and others. Under Sassanid rule, modal music was developed by a highly significant court musician, Barbade, called the Khosravani. While today's classical music tradition in Persia bears the same names of some of the modes of that era, it is impossible to know if they sound the same because there is no evidence of musical notation from the Sassanid period. Today's traditional Persian music began to develop after the advent of Islam in Persia in the medieval era, and the creation of today's formal, classical musical tradition is directly linked to the music systems in use under the Safavid dynasty. Under the later Qajar dynasty, the classical system was restructured into its present form mostly through the efforts of two legendary musicians of that time, Agha Hossein Gul and Mara Abdullah. Aspects. Persian traditional music relies on both improvisation and composition, and is based on a series of modal scales and tunes which must be memorized. Apprentices and masters, Ostad, have a traditional relationship which has declined during the 20th century as music education moved to universities and conservatories. The common repertoire consists of more than 200 short melodic movements called gusher, which are classified into 7 dastgah or modes. 2 of these modes have secondary modes branching from them called avaz. Each gusher and dastgah has an individual name. This whole body is called the radif, of which there are several versions, each in accordance to the teachings of a particular master or ostad. A typical performance consists of the following elements: pish, daramad, avaz, tasnif, chahar, metzrib, reng. A performance forms a sort of suite. Unconventionally, these parts may be varied or omitted. Towards the end of the Safavid Empire, more complex movements in 10, 14, and 16 beats stopped being performed. In fact, in the early stages of the Qajar dynasty, the usul were replaced by a meter based on the ghazal, and the makam system of classification was reconstructed into the radif system which is used to this day. Today, rhythmic pieces are performed in beats of 2 to 7 with some exceptions. Rengs are always in a 6/8 time frame. Many melodies and modes are related to the makamat of the Turkish classical repertoire and Arabic music belonging to various Arab countries, for example Iraq. This similarity is because of the exchange of musical science that took place in the early Islamic world between Persia and her neighboring countries. During the meeting of the Intergovernmental Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Heritage of the United Nations, held between the 28th of September and the 2nd of October 2009 in Abu Dhabi, radifs were officially registered on the UNESCO list of the Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity. The music is vocal-based. The vocalist plays a crucial role. She or he decides what mood to express and which dastgah relates to that mood. In many cases, the vocalist is also responsible for choosing the poems to be sung. If the performance requires a singer, the singer is accompanied by at least one wind or string instrument, and at least one type of percussion. There could be an ensemble of instruments, though the primary vocalist must maintain hers or his role. In some Tasnif songs, the musicians may accompany the singer by singing along several verses. Traditionally, music is performed while seated on finely decorated cushions and rugs. Candles are sometimes lit. The group of musicians and the vocalist decide on which dasgas and which of their gushas to perform, depending on the mood of a certain time or situation. Persian traditional music continues to function as a spiritual tool as it has throughout its history, and much less of a recreational activity. Compositions can vary immensely from start to finish, usually alternating between low, contemplative pieces and athletic displays of musicianship called tahir, ready for rhythm. Major instruments. Instruments used in Persian music include the bowed spike fiddle kamancheh, the goblet drum tombak, the end-blown flute ney, the frame drum daf, the long-necked lutes tud, setar tanbur, dotard, and the dulcimer santur. The European violin is also used, with an alternative tuning preferred by Persian musicians. Harps, chang, were a very important part of music up until the middle of the Safavid Empire. They were probably replaced because of tuning problems or replaced by the kanun and later the piano, which was introduced by the West during the Safavid dynasty of Iran. Many, if not most, of these instruments originated in Iran. Perhaps the most loved string instrument is the tar. Tar players are regularly chosen to function as the primary string instrument in a performance. The setar is also loved for its delicacy and is the favorite among mystic musicians. Some instruments like the sorna, nayanban, dohol, nagare, and others, are not used in the classical repertoire but are used in Iranian folk music. The garzak, a type of fiddle, is being reintroduced to the classical field after many years of exclusion. The instruments used in the classical field are also used in Iranian folk music. Major ensembles. Aref Ensemble, Shader Ensemble, Masters of Persian Music, Hamavian Ensemble, Nafir Ensemble, National Music Ensemble, Dastan Ensemble, the Kamkars, Shakelas Group, Kemarani Ensemble, Lian Ensemble, Shams Ensemble, Chartar, Shahnaz Ensemble, Ben Azmemar, Anga Ensemble, Master Sima Bina Ensemble. Preservation. The Persian constitutional revolution in 1906 allowed some release from previous religious restrictions with regards to music. As a result, genres such as pop and rock started to become popular. This popularity was criticized by traditionalists who felt that traditional music was becoming endangered. In 1968, Darush Safvit and Nur Ali Boramand helped form the Center for Preservation and Propagation of Iranian Music with the help of Reza Ghotbai, director of NIRT, an act credited with saving traditional music in the 1970s by other ethnomusicologists, including Nelly Karan, Tranvan Khe, and Hormoz Farhat.